Hello everybody, we're here today with PopImpressKA Journal and we are very fortunate and extremely excited to be with Micky James.
How you doing?
Thank you, Micky, and JC.
How's everything going?
We love your music.
Thank you,
Micky.
thank you.
And I know that you are a noted songwriter, producer, director, actor, and you do so many other projects that people have no even idea with the collaboration of things that you're doing, and this is a man behind the scenes.
There's a lot that's going on. More than likely you've heard my music somewhere but didn't even know it was me. So, yeah, it's good. I'm looking to, oh, we have a guest.
Yes, I see that.
And this is Micky's dog. And that's what makes it so
Smile
special.
for everybody.
So Micky has this dog. Actually, we have an article about celebrities and their pets.
Well, it's not actually my dog. I'm dog sitting.
Dog
but it's my
sitting.
dog for now.
But that's a very notable thing to do. So how was it growing up that you love animals, you love basically?
I actually do. I have a very big love for dogs, which is why I was asked to watch the dog. I've had dogs my whole life. I had the original mascot for the studio was a black pug that was Capone. Alice Capone was a girl, and that was the love of my life, that dog. But you know, dogs get old, so now I have a fill-in, temporary.
Amazing. And now I'm amazed and impressed with your music and everything that you do. And I know for 6 seasons you were doing the music behind the TV show The Mind Freak.
Yeah.
And would you tell me what was so special about the show and how did you start with the project?
Well, you know, Chris is from Long Island as well, but I didn't really know him until we started working
Chris
together.
Angel.
Chris Angel.
Right.
And luckily I was able to get involved with him about 2 years before the TV show started. And, you know, I did a couple of specials with him, a couple of sci-fi specials, Halloween specials and things like that, a Japan thing. And then one day he got the TV show and he came to me and said, we got a TV show and I need you to write a theme song. And then that's kind of how it started. And who knew? I mean, the show just took off, blew up. And, you know, I think it's probably about 180 pieces of music I'm working on for him at this point.
That's incredible.
So, yeah, it's been a lot of really cool, great ride. He's become like a household name, which is, you never know. Your TV show, great, it could be good, you don't know, and then all of a sudden it's like, wow, you know.
That's fantastic.
And very, very proud to be part of it, you know.
And what's really very interesting is that the music is actually part of the show, and I feel every time I watch it, it changes your character and basically influence the way you perceive the illusions.
Well, definitely. I mean, that's why Chris is successful. I mean, he was definitely a pioneer in the sense of, like, you got these guys like David Copperfield and all these older guys. They were like very cookie cutter, very clean. He's a rock and roll guy with the hard music behind him, dark image, and you know, all these things together. You know, he's a good-looking guy and all that. All that kind of made him what he is, and he was very aware that he was in the music field initially, so he definitely knew the power of music behind it, and you know, he was smart to do it like that, you know, because it does set the mood. And even when people spoof it, which I love, I see like, you know, comedians spoofing them or something like that. Well, I'm not saying I love when he gets spoofed. They spoof the music too.
They do.
It's so amazing. They spoof the Mind Freak song. It's like they're spoofing me. They don't know it's me, but you know what I mean. And then it goes into a trick, and they spoof some kind of music that sounds similar to what I do, and I love that. That to me is like, you know, you at least people listening. You know, it is part of the show, and people know that. You know, so.
It gives you a click. It's like, you know, in Mozart, you know the theme, the subject, and here you already know that you're going to be watching something extremely interesting.
Yeah, it definitely puts the mood. There's a couple of things in general that really worked really well. I think when he floated above the Luxor, it was called the Luxor Light. He used a piece I did called Ethereal. And it was just this like amazing how it worked, because a lot of times, you know, he'll ask me to write something specific for an act, or he might say, you know, come up with some things, and then he'll just use them as he wants. So I had no idea what it was going to be used for, and when I saw it on TV, I was like, wow, that looks, I mean, you see a guy floating in the air.
Yeah.
It's like, the music just fit perfect, and it gave me chills, so it was really cool.
That's
What's
really
it like
cool.
being the man behind the music for Chris Angel?
You know, at first it was cool to kind of be behind the scenes, and now I'm doing a solo record, so it's like I'm done being behind the scenes. You know, he has over, I think it's 3 million, 4 million people on his fan page, and I have, a couple of thousand. So, we need to make more of his people aware that I'm the guy who was really behind all the music there. And, when it'll all come in time, I think that people are starting to find out via Facebook and Twitter and everything like that. Every day, more and more people find out. So it's kind of good. It's setting up the release for my CD. So when I get it out there, hopefully more and more of the people who like the show and like the music on the show will dig what I'm doing, since it's kind of similar,
That's great.
Yeah.
Now I have another question. When you tour, because obviously you went to many countries.
Yeah, I've been to a bunch of countries.
What was your favorite experience on tour?
Well, just touring in general, having people actually know your songs and singing them back to you. And we in a previous band, we toured 3 times in like 5 different countries: in Poland, Germany, Holland, Belgium, Czech Republic. Been to Canada. And it's amazing when you go there like for a third time, and the second and third time, when people actually start to know the songs. And it wasn't like stadium stuff. It was 2,000 people in a club, or whatever. Even if it was 500, it didn't matter. And when people start to know your music and sing it back to you, that's pretty amazing.
So it's got to be an amazing feeling for
It's
you.
going to be a completely different band. I only did one show as a solo artist.
Wow.
This is the first time I'm actually singing lead vocals and playing guitar and everything. And I went to Argentina, and it was amazing. I only just did a couple of songs with a band that was from there, and looking forward to really doing a lot more of that once the CD's out.
And when was the first time that you actually experienced something like that?
I think it was like 1999 was the first tour, and I think we did just Germany and Holland, and it was so great. They had us come back within 6 months, and we did so many shows. I think it was like 30, 40 shows, and played a bunch more countries, and it was well received. It was good. We had a good time.
That's great. And then how did you ever start learning about music and playing instruments?
My whole family is musical from since I'm a little kid. All my uncles and cousins played in bands. A lot of people don't know, my uncle, even though he was Italian, he was in the Tito Puente's band, which is the biggest Latin American band in the world.
Of course,
He was a member since it started.
Yes.
Him and Tito were roommates in college, and he was not only in the band as a trumpet player, he was also like the band leader. So he would get the band together, he booked the tours, and they were huge. It's just it was a different market, So it's funny now because actually I'm getting noticed by a lot of the Brazil and like Argentina, a lot of the South American countries. And when they find out that he was my uncle, they're like, "Oh my God, you're," But I didn't even realize how big he was, And it's kind of it's just the whole family's musical. Everybody plays and sings something.
Oh, that's
So
great.
it was just like a natural progression.
So what was the first instrument that you picked up?
I started playing bass. Me and my brother started together. He played guitar, I played bass, so we could start a band easier. And pretty much did that live for most of my life until I started actually working on the Chris Angel show, and he encouraged me to just, "Mickey, you play the guitar. You do the piano, do this, do that." And I started playing everything. And now I play everything. I make a mess of everything, but it's my own little mess. And people seem to like it, so it's good. Like I play guitars. I play 7-string guitars. I have my own signature series, which is kind of and then sold to guitar players who can really play. But the truth of the matter is, it's I just make stuff up and I do my own thing. I think it's original that way. And I've been playing everything. I dabble with drums. I have a drum endorsement. But I'm not. It's probably my least favorite. Not least favorite. My least qualified instrument. When I do like bigger projects, I usually bring someone in to play that. But on my CD, I play everything, except for guests. Like if I had a guest come in, just because they're a guest. But I've been playing like every instrument now. Anything with strings, like pickup, and I have a mandolin over there. God knows I don't know how to play it. But I played it. It sounds cool. I mess around with it.
Did you ever try the banjo?
I haven't tried the banjo. I'd like to though.
It looks like an interesting
I
instrument.
don't know if it would fit that well into my music. But mandolin's can be a little darker. Banjo's kind of happy. But it's all good.
What is your favorite
cool.
instrument that you would listen to all the time?
I love it all. I've been a bass player most of my life. I've always had a deep place in my heart for bass guitar. It's always like, could appreciate somebody who's really, really good at it. But I've just gotten so much more into playing guitar now. It's kind of like on stage, I probably wouldn't even play bass. I wouldn't even, I don't just want to sing really with my own thing. Even though I played everything on the record, I'm going to have a band that's going to mostly play everything.
Oh.
And every now and then I'll probably pick up a guitar, but you know, it changes, it varies. Sometimes I'll hear piano music and be like, oh, that's amazing, you know.
If you would like cooperate with bands or like performers, who would it be on stage?
Who would I collaborate with? Oh, I would love Alice Cooper. I'm going to get him in my movie. I want him. I met him recently, and he was actually super cool. I told him about the project. He was very cordial. He's a very nice guy. Of course, you know, people would have to talk to people and make something like that happen. But
who do you think your most
Yeah.
like amazing like starstruck experience for you in your life?
you know what? I mean, definitely this year I met Kiss and Alice Cooper, but also meeting Black Sabbath was. I mean, I got to meet Ronnie James Dio right before he died, and that was fantastic. I mean, they were so nice to me. They were so cool. Kiss was such a fantasy because they were such a band I liked as a little kid, and unfortunately, you didn't really get to talk to them. So it was cool to meet them. That was pretty starstruckish. But Alice Cooper was just like, he was such a nice guy. He stopped me, talked to me, and
What about
I was very
his-
starstruck with that.
But what about his personality that impressed you the most?
Well, I mean, I think the thing is that the fact that he's a different guy in real life than he is on stage, the fact that he's pulled that off has been very influential on me in the same way. Like the character I'm playing in the movie, it's Mick James, but it's not really me. It's a dark version of me. So it's
sort of like an alter ego.
It's an alter ego, exactly, which is what he's done all his life. And you know, he's even had interviews, and you'd hear things where like he became that persona a lot of times, and that's when he would drink too much and do drugs and almost kill himself. So he has to back away from that and not be that guy. When he's, you know, during the day he plays golf and he's a regular guy. And I think the thing I said this recently in a thing on Facebook, and it's true, was he's been so influential in my career and my life that even when I started working with Chris Angel, because when he came out, he was a very different guy than he is now. He was very dark. He had long dreads and he wear crazy makeup, and he'd go up to people on the street and say like, you know, can I do a trick on you? And he'd run away from them. You know, now people know who Chris is. They say, hey, can I do a trick on you? Of course, Chris. You know, it's a whole different world. But back then, he was a very dark character. People didn't know who he was. So when I first started writing music for his act and his show and all this stuff, I've always had Alice Cooper's face in my mind because it was always this dark character that was kind of channeling the music through. So he's been an influence on me since like I can remember, just like in every aspect of my writing and my career and even my solo thing. It's very, very. It's not ripping him off, but it's something he would do. You know what I mean? And that's kind of cool, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, I guess, you know, as they say, you know, everybody's influenced by something. You know, obviously, you know, if it wasn't for Elvis Presley, you know, we wouldn't have Jimi Hendrix.
Well,
If
exactly.
it wasn't for Jimi Hendrix, we wouldn't have the music that we have today
No
in
doubt.
metal.
And I think it goes deeper than that too. It's also, you know, there is a couple cool people out there, like for better or worse, what kind of music you like or whatnot. I mean, the Lady Gaga's, I think it's great what she's doing because she's out there. You know, you got all these sterile bands that are just, they don't really do anything. They don't really dress like anything. They kind of like look like regular guys you wouldn't even know is in a band. And to me, that's you know, that's, I don't know, man. Being in a band, you're an entertainer. Entertain me. You know what I mean?
So you
know,
always look
exactly.
for something extreme, eccentric, something
Well, it's what
that's
I always
different.
want to do.
Is that
Whether it's the music or with the music or the stage show or whatever. I mean, I'm looking around this hair. People are like, you're insane. You know, it's kind of like you either love it or you hate it, but it's actually part of my character. That's why I started doing it like this. And
how did you come up with the idea something different that like shocks people at the same time they drawing to you like a glue?
you know, it's really weird. I think I had this intention when people first started to find out who I was and what I did, and started like, you know, following me and whatnot. They started saying to me, "What are you doing? Why don't you do a CD?" Because I was already in a band and I was doing CDs, but the band was kind of, you know, we were kind of over trying to, we toured and nothing was really happening. And so we were all getting a little frustrated with it. And I said to myself, well, why don't I do my own CD? I mean, I own a recording studio. I write songs every day for everybody else but me.
And we are in your amazing recording
Thank
studio
you.
right here, and this is fabulous.
Yeah, and that was kind of like, it was like, so why don't I do it? And the obstacles were, I was never really a lead singer before. I tried to be as a kid, and I was like, kind of sucked. You know, it was like, but I just started like doing songs, getting hired to write songs for people and getting forced to sing them. or getting forced to play guitar on them, getting forced to play keyboard on them, and that's kind of how like I started playing and everything, and started singing a little bit. And there's a song called "I Don't Fight Fair" that I actually put out there. That's on my Reverb Nation and all that stuff. That wasn't supposed to be on my record. It was just a song that I'd written for a comedy TV show out of Canada. It was a pilot.
Interesting.
So they were goofing on the UFC Ultimate Fighting stuff, and I wrote this song called "I Don't Fight Fair," and I did it very much in a fashion as the kind of stuff I was into. It was industrial, heavy rock, and the voice again is very Rob Zombie, Alice Cooperish, and it was people started saying, "Oh, I love your music. I love your music." I said, "Well, all they know is the Chris Angel stuff and my other band, Earth Eats Dog, which was funky rock. It has nothing to do with what I'm going to be doing."
Exactly.
So I put that song out there just to put it out there, and it's getting played on like, I don't know, 150, 200, radio stations.
That's fabulous.
Yeah, it's like
great.
all over the place.
That's real. Yeah.
And that's what really made me say to myself, like, wow, people really like this. I mean, maybe I can sing. So, I mean, everybody in my family sings great. It's just I never really could. But it's funny enough, it's like, I think I'm okay with it now because I'm singing like the guys I loved growing up. Like, I always tried to sing like Gene Simmons or Alice Cooper, and I never could. And then suddenly, I don't know what happened. Something just snapped in me. Maybe it was this project and doing the solo record. I don't know what it was, but it just came out of me. And now it's like I'm completely comfortable being a singer.
Amazing.
Being on stage is going to be a whole other process. I mean, the one show I did was great, but getting up there and doing the whole tour, well, yeah, you're a singer. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if I'm going to make it through, but,
How was that experience for you personally wise? When you were on tour and then when you traveled so much and you saw so many people, was it overwhelming, or what did you get out of it as personal input in the whole
You come to
experience?
realize the more you get known, I hate to use the word famous because I don't really see myself as famous, although I'm getting known.
No.
The bigger you get, the more successful you get, the more people who follow you, the smaller you feel. and I know why people go insane. I know why people jump off the deep end and get crazy. I know why people run away from life. Because although I have a little taste of it, it gets very overwhelming. It gets like when you're doing the show and there's 1,000 people there, 2,000 people waiting. It's not a huge number, but I can imagine if it was like 200,000. But it's like they're waiting there for you. You know what I mean? And they're waiting to get in, and they're waiting in the rain, and online to get in, and they're trying to get in. And too many people in the club, and it makes you feel very small because it's just you feel like everybody wants a piece of you. Your private life is a joke. You can't. It's like everybody's like, oh, who you hanging out with? Who you dating? What are you doing? What's this? What's that? They want to know every aspect of every part of your life. What'd you eat for dinner? It's like it's just. It gets really silly, and I can only imagine what it's like to be super famous and just like have to. I know why you get bodyguards. I know why like the paparazzi, the police and stuff. They don't really protect celebrities. Like people just come up to them and want a piece of them. They'll just get a piece of them. They'll talk to them. They want something from them unless you have bodyguards. So it gets weird, But it's good. I welcome it. I mean, I've kind of gotten used to the fact that I'm no longer. I don't own myself anymore. It's kind of like, I feel like everybody else kind of owns you, and you just kind of go with it. It's like, what are you gonna do? Okay, you become a public figure, and this is what life is. And this is really only started happening in the last 2 years or so. I mean, people knew who I was, but now it's like, I haven't been to Vegas in like maybe 3 years. I'm sure when I go there, like all the people who started to know me now because of the Chris Angel show, it's gonna be like. Different, which is good. I mean, it's a beautiful thing, but it is scary.
And I know that you have a very beautiful and very humble roots back to your family.
Yeah.
Could you please tell me and the viewers more about how you growing up, what you was like a child? Because I know you were like probably very active and outgoing and pioneer.
No, actually,
no.
Quite the opposite. I was an extremely shy kid. I mean, to the point of where like I didn't talk to anybody. Growing up until I was maybe a little older, and I have 7-year-old twins, and my daughter's like that. She doesn't talk to anybody unless she starts to get to know you. Very few people will she actually talk to. And I look at her and go, "That was me. You got that from me. I'm sorry." I was a really shy kid, and I think a lot of musicians were shy people who needed a way to come out of their shell and be themselves, and it's the only way I could really do that was through music. you know, to being on stage where I could be myself. Like it's always funny. I even said this to people, and people don't really. I don't think they know the scope of it. I was so shy of like growing up as a kid. Like I never really had a date with a girl. I'd always be like, "Well, come to a show," because then I was on my own ground. You know, I'd go out on a date with a girl, go and have dinner and talk. I don't think this is gonna work. You know, I'm just a really shy person, and but it's become I've gotten over that obviously, and becoming the lead singer is a complete trip. I mean, you're up there front and center, no guitar. This is like you have no protection. You're just up there, out there.
As a singer, I know the feeling.
Yeah.
Because, you know, the front man, obviously, you know, they hear your voice. If you make a mistake singing, people know it.
Yep.
If you make a mistake playing the guitar, you miss a chord, people will miss it. They won't really
even if they
notice
hear
it.
something, they won't know what happened.
Exactly.
But it's not just that. It's also like you're the one who's expected to entertain everybody.
Yeah.
You're the one who's going to talk when the songs are done. You know, you're the one everyone's looking at, and it's just kind of like you know, that was a major step.
Wow.
And I never sang in public. I mean, I tried karaoke once or twice just to kind of see what it would be like, and I never even did that in my life. Even being a singer, I always sang backgrounds and stuff, but doing that was like you know, was really like a huge step.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I was a really, really shy kid growing up, and then as I got a little older, became a very troubled kid, if you will. Got
In
into
what
a lot
way,
of,
you would say?
me and my brother, we hung out with a pretty crazy crowd. We got into a lot of trouble. We would steal cars and robbing houses and doing stupid things like that, getting into drugs at a really, really young age. And just things like that. Maybe to be around, you know, like 14, 15, I kind of realized I started seeing a bunch of my friends getting arrested, and a couple of them dead, and you start to kind of realize there's something more out there, and I think music actually saved me from taking that route, and you know, just not being a criminal.
Well, you are inspiration, because a lot of kids right now, they're listening to you and they're going through such a turmoil. So what would be your wish for them to move forward and kind of like stay focused in their life?
Well, the thing is this, I mean, it's kind of funny. It's like a lot of kids write me, and they're very looking for inspiration, or they look, I don't want to be a role model, but it's unfortunate that you are, because people want to know what you did or what you're doing, or they're depressed in their life, or they want to get into music but they don't play anything. I will get these questions all the time, and it makes me feel good when somebody writes back, you know, hey, you really helped me. Bottom line is you got to find something you love. It doesn't have to be music. It could be anything. It could be like some people could be happy being a graphic artist. If you love that and you're really good at it, then go for it. A photographer, you know, it doesn't have to be music. However, for me, again, it was a natural progression because everybody in my family was a musician. All my uncles, all my cousins. I had uncles who were actors. They were on like All in the Family back in the day, and hung out with the Rat Pack, and would get pictures of my uncles. It was like, holy jeez, hanging out with like Frank Sinatra and you know, all these people.
Fantastic. And it was again Vegas.
Yeah,
it was all Vegas coming back.
It's funny because, you know, I didn't realize these things as a kid. I didn't think anything of it. Like, you know, hanging out with Dean Martin, like you know, who's Dean? I don't care. You know, I was a little kid. But you know, as I got older and it kind of clicked with me that, yeah, this is kind of a way you stay away from that stuff. This is like, I don't do drugs anymore. I'm, you know, away from all this trouble. I don't rob things anymore. I don't do, you know, these stupid things. And a lot of kids are just looking for something to do. They're bored.
Understand.
You know, and they're just like, getting in with a bad crowd or whatever the case is. It's like, you know, do something you love. You know, it's funny because my daughter says to me, she's 7 years old, she doesn't really get it all. She's like constantly asking me like, Dad, you know, you like being up all night and sleeping all day? And I'm like, well, it's what I do, you know. And she's kind of like, but I don't want to be a rock star. I don't like to, you know, do all this stuff. And I don't like these people who, you know, try to call you and all. And I'm like, you know, it's part of the game, but it's not about that in the beginning. It's really about music. I mean, I love music. I love writing music.
Right.
You know, the other stuff, the perks come with it. You know, it's just like whatever. You know, but it's not a life for everybody.
Yeah, and
you know?
who was your role model that actually hit you, and then you thought, I'm gonna change and I'm gonna do something out of my life? Who was that person?
I think there was a lot of different people. I think there was, you know, my family has always been very supportive of me, in the sense of.
And I know your grandma, and I saw there was a post that.
Grandmother recently died at 95. Thought she was going to make 100.
But you know, she actually played a good part in your life as well.
Yeah, I mean, she was a singer too. I mean, it just always been there for me, and you know, I think I think the big part was really that my mother, like, you know, I was a bad kid, so like I ended up dropping out of school, me and my brother both. And my mother said, okay, you want to drop out of school, you're going to do something. What do you want to do? You know, you're going to go to a trade school. And funny enough, they sent him to audio school and sent me to electronics, which was a bad move. Because he actually hated this, and I wish I would have been into it earlier. But I ended up getting into it later, so it was like, I found my way. I wasn't into the electronics thing, I wasn't into doing that. And, you know, as it found out more and more that it wasn't just about, the reason I got into being a producer, it wasn't just about playing on stage, which again was what my brother loves to do. He's a rocker, he just likes to get on stage and play, and that's this thing, that's awesome. I was more into the facet of, and not that he's not into writing and stuff like that, but I was more into the creation of it. And I could sit here for 20 hours and just not blink, as to where other people, okay, let's get in the studio and get out, you know? And it's like, that's what kind of, you know, got me more into, sunk me more into like the songwriting end of it, and doing it for a living, and I've done nothing but this for 10 years. I've been lucky to, I haven't swung a hammer in 10 years. It's a glorious day. You know, because I did construction stuff. I did all that for years and years and years, and did this at the same time, and it was hard.
So you can build a house too.
You know what? Not anymore. But I was able to do a lot of things. I could do some things.
That's fantastic.
I had to send my brother in. He could do a little
Build
better.
a house, make a record,
Oh,
jack of all trades. Oh.
But yeah, I mean, you know, my family was very instrumental in making sure that I did something. You're not gonna go to school. You're not gonna graduate. You're gonna have to do something else. And I think that kind of like made me want to get into something.
So, out of the question, what is your favorite time of the year?
You know, people always say like, "Is Christmas your favorite time of the year?" You know, I don't really have a favorite time. I like
Do you
to
like
change.
holidays? Do you like holidays?
Yeah, I don't hate the holiday. I mean, you know, again, it gets like, you know, when you get a little older, you don't really care about Christmas anymore, and it's again like when you have kids, then it's exciting. It's all about the kids.
Yeah.
You know, it's like you know, now it's like, okay, I got to make some money because I got to go buy my kids something. You know, and it gets exciting for that, and the look on their face, and you know, the whole thing. But you know, like I don't care about birthdays or holidays really anymore. But I don't dislike them.
But you live your life every day enjoyable. So the point of this conversation is that basically to put the message out there and saying that every day is important. You don't have to look for holidays to feel good.
Well, no doubt. I mean, the thing people also forget is half the reason I'm where I'm at right now is because I have a little different outlook than a lot of other people do, and that is that it doesn't matter whatever you do in your career to do something every day, something, whatever it is. It could be something small, you know. But a lot of people just kind of wait for things to happen, and things don't happen for people who wait for things to happen. You have to make things happen, and that's a very big part of it. Like every day counts. Every day something goes on. Every day, you know, I have so many different people who help me, street teams, and love them all. I mean, without them, I wouldn't know what I was doing. They set up all these things in all these different countries, and they promote me on the constant. I still get online. I still talk to people.
Yes.
You know, it's like, oh yeah, if someone else is going to do it, let them do it. You know, I'll just, you know what I mean? It's like you have to really, really want something.
If you had 3 wishes, what would it be?
Let's see. The first one would actually be, quite contrary to belief, I'd actually like to be rich. Still a starving musician. No, I mean, I'd like to be more supportive and more well off to not have to worry about taking care of the family. That would be, you know. That would be
So you
good.
can do more charities and
yeah, even that kind of stuff.
Right.
Second wish would definitely be for everyone to buy my CD.
and then where can they find your CD? Do you want to just give them
Well, it's
information?
not out yet, but what's going to happen is it's definitely going to be online. Again,
And
talking to
what's the website to look for?
right now, I mean, I think they would just have to find my Reverb Nation on my Facebook right now. There's going to be an actual .com, but it's not set up yet. As soon as the CD comes out, that's going to be set up. So, I mean, you guys can
And we'll add
post that
the
in
information,
later.
of course. Yeah.
That's great.
but
So we
I-
can purchase a hard copy as well as a digital.
Yeah, I'm going to make hard copies so people could buy a real CD that somebody want to
Fantastic,
hold,
that's
or
great.
they're
That's
going to be able to
excellent.
download it from like iTunes or whatever, or, you know, that kind of thing. And I really, it's more, again, it's more than a CD. So I mean, the part of the second wish is more that than people buy it, that I actually get to have it become the show I'd like to have it become and be able to perform it for people around the world. I mean, that would be really amazing because it is kind of like I won't say it's not Broadway in any way, shape, or form, but
Hey,
it
you
is
never
a show.
know.
No, it could
The
become.
Green Day
Oh,
went
it could
that
become.
way.
It could become. No, it definitely could become. It has the markings of that. but I would like it to become somewhat of a successful the movie, and people know the movie, so when I play on stage, they know the music and the songs and the ritual of what's going on and what's happening and where to participate and that kind of thing.
Mhm.
That would be really cool. And the third wish, I don't know. It's, you know, just to
You'll have it
be,
reserved.
just to be healthy, you know, just
Yeah,
to
to be healthy.
continue and do what I love to do, you know.
And then I know you have an amazing collection of guitars.
It's getting there. This is probably only like you know, one tenth of what
It's
I have,
beautiful.
but the three that are special are my actual signature
And
series.
those are the guitars right over here.
Yeah, which you know, I'm lucky enough to have my actual initials and my signature on them, and I designed the shape.
How did you come up with that creative process?
Well, it was a weird thing when I started playing guitar more. I started getting approached by different musicians who wanted me to produce stuff, and then I would send them things, and they'd be like, "I want you to play guitar on my thing too," and I was kind of like, "You know, I'm not good, right?" And they're like, "No, I like what you do." So I was like, "Okay," you know, because I never really considered myself a great guitar player, but I guess it's just different or whatever. So I'd written a couple things for a couple of musicians, and they liked what I did, and they were pushing me to play more guitar. So it got to the point where I said to myself, "Well, if I'm going to play guitar, I need to get a really nice one because I have nice basses. I don't have any nice guitars." So I was playing that blue one right there. That blue one, I don't know if you get a shot of that.
Yeah, Jared,
That's that one. I actually was the first 7-string I bought.
That's
I bought it
great.
for like $200, and that's the one I used in the Mind Freak intro.
Oh.
There's an intro and an outro. Long story, the outro got cut off unfortunately on the show, but
Oh.
when he's screaming in the camera, "Mind Freaks," me behind him playing that blue guitar in the desert. In
That was
Vegas.
that one.
Yeah. So I had that guitar, and it got to the point where I was like, okay, I need to get a real guitar. So I had a couple of different options. A couple of companies wanted to endorse me, and there was one guy out of Canada named Mike Carparelli Guitars, who just was like, "Mickey, we want to endorse you. What do you want?" And I thought about it. I said, "Well, I think if I go with a bigger company, you're not going to make me my own guitar, but, you know, would you do that for me?" He said, "Yeah." And I just, you know, asked him if he would sell them, and he said if they come out nice, and we agreed to that, and they came out beautiful, and that's how it started, you know. And it's funny because the guitar is the same as his pendant.
Yes, it looks
This
great.
pendant is very significant. It's not just a pendant. It's not just a guitar. It's my logo.
Oh.
Also, but it's also a very big part of the movie storyline. So it's all kind of tied into one thing. So it's kind of I can't talk too much about it because it's very on
But
the
we will
low.
find out soon.
But you will find out when you hear the CD, and you get some of it from that. But when you actually start filming the movie, it's a very big part of the storyline. It's a very big part of the character, the character's actual demeanor, and what he's all about, and all that kind of stuff. So it has a lot more significance than just a necklace.
Oh, that's amazing.
It's very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
We're
gonna be
definitely
cool.
looking forward to
It's going to be interesting.
to it when it comes out.
The hardest part is sitting on it. I've been sitting on it for so long. The CD's been
Yeah.
done for about 6 months, and I can't put it out until we get the visual. The first video is half done, and movie before we can put the actual CD out. And once it's out there, I'll be breathing a lot easier. And I've got a lot of great special guests as well coming on the CD.
Oh,
I don't know
great.
if I can mention them yet, but I've got a couple guys from a couple known bands, and a couple guys playing guitar, someone singing, a couple other things, and it's gonna be good. It's gonna be interesting.
And if you had a choice to pick a movie star that you would like to work with, who would it be, female and male?
Well, you know what? Again, movie stars aren't turning me on. What's happening
Oh.
is in my movie. I definitely would love Alice Cooper, Gene Simmons, Marilyn Manson,
Marilyn Manson.
Rob Zombie. We like Stan Lee in the movie.
Yes.
Stan Lee,
He
will
wants
you be
to.
in my movie, Stan Lee?
Right? You want to be in the movie?
He's part of the
He's
interview.
part of the interview, absolutely.
But I mean, people like that I'd love
Oh,
to
you
get.
want to give a kiss?
Actors,
What about like if you would perform on stage, who would you love to perform with?
well, same band, same
Same
thing.
band,
Like
right.
Alice Cooper would be. I mean, when Rob Zombie and Alice Cooper did a tour together, it's unfortunate my thing wasn't together. I should have been the support band. I would have fit right in, you know. But hopefully they'll do it again.
Yeah, absolutely. And
Well,
then,
any of those theatrical bands would work, you know.
what is more important for you when you're performing? Like for you when you come out on stage, what's the most important? What are you thinking of when you're there?
Well, you know, coming on stage, I don't know, for everybody, it could be a little scary right before you get on, and then when you're up there, I'm usually okay.
Do you really get scared?
I get scared like right before, but then then it's over. You've done it, and I'm like, I've done this 1,000 times. What am I worried about? You know, but I don't know. I mean, I think it's just you'd always just want an audience that's really into into seeing you and wants to hear what you see what you're doing, and is going to dig what you're doing, is going to be into what you're doing. I mean, there's a couple weird scenarios we've had where when we played in Canada, I did a special called it was Carmen Electric Naked Women's Wrestling League that Carmen Electric was the host of. And I did all the music for this thing, and it was cool, and then we got to Canada. It was really weird, and it was girls wrestling naked, and it was a little weird. And they were on late for the show to start, and we were supposed to go up there and do a couple songs before, and they made us continue because the girls weren't ready. So people did not want to see the band.
Oh.
They wanted to see the girls. So that was probably the most uncomfortable, being on stage. You just want to be in front of people. And you also want to be in front of people who like the kind of music you do. I mean, if you're going to go into a completely different style of music, where people are into I don't know, something completely different than what you're doing, that's never good either, that's always a hope that people are there to actually see you and digging what you're doing, and you actually sound good and perform well.
So for your theatrical show,
Yeah.
that we have to look forward to.
Yeah.
My question is this. I mean, I know you don't want to give away too many secrets,
Okay.
but like the Rocky Horror Picture Show,
Yeah.
It was audience participation. Are you going
It's
to?
very
Are you
much
thinking
like
about something like that?
It's very much like that without the gay part. It's totally different, but it's definitely got that underground culty vibe. It's got some audience participation in a different way, more on the musical end of it. But it's definitely in that direction, and a stage show, depending on budget and things like that, will probably start off very minimal at first, and then kind of like as it goes on, as you get a little notoriety, people are digging what I'm doing and they want me to come back and we get more money. It's going to be building and building and building, and it can become more of like an Alice Cooper type of show or Rob Zombie type of show. As it goes on, I'm not going to come out and be like, oh, I have everything, like $1 million stage show. It's not going to happen.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
But you got to start somewhere. You got to, a lot of these bands in history you see. I mean, it's funny. Like I saw old pictures of Kiss, and I got the biggest kick out of it. It actually made me laugh, but helped me a lot. When they came out, they didn't have those big light bulb Kiss sign. They had these banners that were like 10 foot by 2 foot with lips, and it said Kiss, and it was like the cheesiest thing in the world. But that's all they had money for, So.
And I noticed their makeup wasn't really what it is today.
Yeah, exactly.
When they first came out, I noticed Paul Stanley didn't have the little star. He just had like this little, like a Robin mask on, basically, painted.
Very early on, they did the outfits they made themselves, and all these really, So I mean, it's going to start out minimal and kind of work its way from there. But I'm hoping that they all cross-platform in the sense of people who hear the CD are going to get interested in the movie and the stage show. People who see the stage show are going to get interested in the movie and the CD, and vice versa, because it is all one big happy tied-in thing, So.
But it's basically, this is who you are, because you have such an amazing production that you're putting together.
Well, it's funny. I didn't set out to do that. I've never set out to be an actor. Just always wanted to just be a musician. And a friend of mine who I work with, just said a title, mentioned the title, and said, I think you should name your band this. And I said, that's kind of weird, And then I kind of thought about it, and then next thing you know, it just sparked all these ideas, all these song titles, and these, my lyrics. Forgive me, my son is talking. It kind of sparked this whole idea for this thing, and as time went on, and I was writing all these notes, this is what I thought would be a great stage show. I talked to a couple of people in the industry, and they said to me, Mickey, you're not really doing a CD, you're kind of doing a movie and doing a soundtrack to it. And that's where it came in, and that's when I started to kind of get interested in acting, and I've been asked to do like a couple TV pilots, and we shot them, and they haven't got picked up yet. Maybe they will, maybe they won't, who knows. But people told me I look natural on camera, so I was like, okay, that's good. I don't look like a goofy guy. Okay, good. I think I do, but it's all good.
And also, I know that outside the door there was a sign, Freedom of Speech, the name of your studio.
That's the name of the studio.
And tell me why.
It has nothing to do with politics. I've never voted. I think they're all crooks. Freedom of speech is more a reference of when a band comes in here, one of the big reasons I became a producer is because I hated producers.
Mhm.
Engineers, you come in and, oh, your bass, there's too much high end on it. It's not supposed to sound like that. Well, this is the way my bass sounds. Well, no, that's not how basses sound, but mine does. And you have this conflict with everybody trying to make you sound like what they want you to sound like, not what you want to sound like.
Do you find it enjoyable? Do you like acting?
I do. I think it's funny. I think everybody thinks they can act, and then when you actually get on camera,
How do you become a character? Is it difficult for you, or
Well,
what do you take into consideration?
it's a lot of deep thought. I mean, I'm definitely learning how to do it. We've done takes where, the first take was, really bad, and the director would be like, okay, Mickey, you have to think of this and think of that and do this and do that. And then as it goes on and you kind of get into the mood a little bit, you get into the feeling of it, you capture some good stuff. But it does take a lot. I mean, there's some people are just natural with it, but it's a lot of, deep inner thought, a lot of emotion, a lot of, not overacting or not moving too much, thinking that you're got to be more animated. It's a lot of different things.
So, Mickey, do you feel like you have to take on that alter ego when you're acting as well in front of the camera?
In this particular project, I mean, there's no doubt. It's just being a different guy, and not my lovable self.
What do you think is the most good characters about you? Characteristics?
Me, I'm a very happy drunk.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a very friendly guy. I think that unlike some idols I met, who just people I idolized all my life growing up, you meet them and they're just not cool. There's nothing more heartbreaking than that. There's nothing more than meeting somebody that you just looked up to so much, and then you meet them and you're like, wow, what a loser, It's really it's very disappointing. So what I try to do is anybody who's a fan or anything like that, and they just kind of they write me, I try to write them back. They meet me, they want to take a picture, I'll take a picture.
So it's like being
If you
humble
want me
in
to
a way.
sign something, I'll sign something. Yeah, it's just it's not good. I don't want to mention names. There's just some guys that I've met that really there was one guy I met who was such an idol all my life, and he was just so wasted when I met him. He was shaking my hand as he was falling through a doorway, which was this drug room he was falling into, and it was just so I was like, wow.
I've never met Keith Richards.
No,
but I always
it wasn't Keith. It would have been okay if it was Keith.
he has an excuse.
But I mean, not even that though. Just people who just aren't nice, and you do, hey, can I take a picture with you? And they're just look at you and they're like, no, they can't be bothered. It's okay, whatever. Maybe you'd rather be working, in a store selling, shoes or something. I don't know. Instead of being a famous guy, I don't know what you'd rather be doing. You're so unhappy, but. It's just things like that. I try to be aware of. People see you as something and they want a part of you, and it's always cool to be cool to them. I mean, why would you be a jerk to somebody who likes you? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
But I don't know.
And in order to be successful in the industry, what would be your wish to everybody out there?
I think again it comes down to a lot of people pipe dream and don't realize that this is a business.
How do you think is sustain in this business for a while? Because this is a rough business.
Yeah, it's very hard. That's the thing. If you can, sustain a presence in the industry, and you could do things that continually interest people, I think that's success. And I think that if you're going to come out with the same stuff every time, do the same thing, it's going to get old. People are going to get old with it. And if you do something half-hearted, it's not going to, So I think just sustaining success. I mean, there's guys out there who are, maybe not the most famous guys in the world, but they've been famous for 20 years. And they're there and they do their thing, they work all the time, and that's success.
Great, fantastic.
And I think happiness too. I think you got to be happy. There's a very lonely side of, success. You hear more and more of people talk about it. But, if you're happy and you're doing something you love, that's success too.
That's great. Well, we want to say thank you very much, Micky James. And can you say PopImpressKA? Yeah.
PopImpressKA.
And this is Micky James and JC with 50 Miles of Frequency, and we're looking forward to see more of your interesting projects now on.
Very cool.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.